Richard, welcome to our show. How are you doing?
I'm very good, Albert. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for joining. I'm very excited about this episode and about the chat with you, especially about your brand. It starts with your feet, so maybe you can tell us more about that.
Sure. I basically created my own niche for podiatry, which is called holistic podiatry. And it's the reason I did that is because when I met my wife, she was dealing with fibromyalgia and she was on 5 prescriptions and she was told that she was going to have to go on disability. And she said, no way. And she started researching and she basically took herself off every prescription, changed her diet. She went gluten free, she went dairy free. She started going incrementally to take supplements, certain supplements, and she gradually increased her ability to exercise. And so I met her after she was about a year into that process, and it transformed my way of looking at things because I was trained traditionally, and they don't tell you about the natural approach. So I just said, this is definitely the way to go because of the better safety profile. So with that, I transformed my personal life to become more holistic. I became organic in my nutrition. I became a vegetarian about 8 years ago. And my health now at the age of 63 is better at age 50 when I first started doing this. So there's definitely proof to that it works. The thing that, and so I then said, if I'm doing it in my personal life, I need to do it for my patients also. So most of my patients don't even know that I'm holistic, even though that it's advertised. Most of them don't search out a holistic podiatrist because they don't even know that it exists. So like they find out that I'm holistic when they come into the office most of the time. It's very rare that I have somebody that does a holistic search. It's interesting that my patients that come from Europe and South America are much more attuned to the holistic approach, whereas the Americans are not because they're inundated with mainstream media, which is pharmaceutically backed with the advertising. And they're not going to want to talk about the natural stuff because they can't patent it. So they can't make money on it. So it's basically you want to think out. My whole goal is to get people to realize to think outside the box when it comes to your health. There is a big influence on your lifestyle, how it influences your health. So even if you have bad genetics, the field of epigenetics is lifestyle factors that that affect how your genes are expressed. So for instance, you might be prone to having disease. If you smoke cigarettes, you're going to be more prone to that disease to come out. So just by not smoking cigarettes, you're going to help yourself. So then that leads into my other main point that I like to talk about, and that is one of the best things you can do for your health is called interval training. I
Mhm.
renamed it interval training. Most people know it as high intensity interval training. Fast, slow, fast, slow. And
Right.
I learned about it from an anti aging doctor in Palm Beach County. But I
Right.
took that prescription and made it my own. I started doing it about 13 years ago when I found out about it. And the, if, and the, most people have trouble committing 1 hour 3 to 5 times a week to do their aerobic exercise, whether it's walking, swimming, running, bicycling, whatever that may be. And I'm here to tell you that you don't need to do that for that long. And in fact, doing my prescription is actually going to give you more bang for the buck. So the fact that it takes 12 minutes means that you can do it before work or before school, before the distractions come. At the end of the day, you're hungry, you're tired, you got to go to the store, you got to go pick up the kids, whatever, or you got to take them to practice or music lessons, whatever it may be. So, here's what I want to tell your listeners and viewers. By the way, you can go on my website, startwithyourfeet.com, and go to the blog page, and you can do a free ebook download for my interval training ebook, which gives the logistics for it, the prescription for it, and the benefits. But I'm going to talk about it right now. I'm going to tell you what I do personally. I go out in front of my street. I sprint for 20 seconds. Then I walk for about a minute, catch my breath, then turn the other way and go the other way. I do that 6 times. Then the final three, I do 15 seconds instead of 20. And then I do each one 3 times at 15. When I do the 15-second interval, I do it at a faster speed. So by going faster at the end for the shorter time frame, you are doing the opposite of what marathon runners do when they run a long, long distance. They wear their body down. They make their heart less efficient. They increase their chances of an overuse injury in their foot, leg, knee, hip, or back. So here you're only doing this for a short period of time. The fast intervals need to add up to 2 minutes in order to get the benefit. You can do that anyway. You can do more intervals if you need to do it. So if somebody can't, I have a 90-year-old patient in a wheelchair, and I tell them to go get a floor pedal to put on the floor and just do a pedal. And if you can't do 20 seconds to 15, do 15 to 10 or do 10 to 5. Just add up the fast intervals to 2 minutes and that's all you need. But the kicker is make sure when you go to the shorter speed, the shorter time at the end, you do it at a faster speed and then you're building your body up. So I'm done in 12 minutes this way. I'm able to sprint and walk. But if you're overweight and not in great shape, just do what fast walk, slow walk, or work your way to a jog, slow walk, fast swim, slow swim, fast bicycle pedal, slow bicycle pedal, as fast as you can do. But just remember, go faster at the end. Then your time commitment's 12 minutes. And then you are done with your workout. You go take your shower and you go off wherever you're going off to. So it's not a big time commitment. And then the benefits are substantial. Let me just tell you the benefits of doing this way. So, of course, you don't have to spend an hour. That's the first thing. You're going to increase the strength of your heart. You're going to increase your lung capacity. And lung capacity is one of the primary indicators of longevity. So that's two good things right there. You're also going to, with changing speeds, you're going to increase oxygenation all over your body. So when you oxygenate your body, you're going to get oxygen to areas that have inflammation, and oxygen can reduce inflammation. So you're reducing musculoskeletal pain. You're oxygenating your brain better, so you're going to reduce your chances of Alzheimer's, which is a worldwide epidemic. You're going to go into a 12-hour fat afterburn. So after your workout's over, you're not going to, because you're not spending 30 minutes and up to do your exercise, you're not going to burn fat during the workout. You're going to burn the fat up to 12 hours after the workout. So if you or make a couple of key changes in your diet, most notably reduce that white flour in the diet, which is the bread, the pasta, the cake, the cookies, the pastries. If you can keep that low, that's the primary thing in nutrition that causes weight gain. You can eat your protein. You want to have your protein. You want to have as many veggies as possible. You want to have your good carbohydrates found in vegetables rather than the bad carbohydrates found in bread. So you can go into a weight loss program and put interval training working alongside with what you're eating sensibly. You could lose weight. So the thing that's most important about this workout is that it's anti-aging. It keeps your chromosomes long. And by having your chromosomes stay long, you are not going to age as fast. So I found out about this when I was 50. I've been doing interval training for since then. I'm 63 now. My blood work when I went for my blood test and my blood pressure is better now than when I was 50. All my numbers are better. So I'm living proof that I walk the walk. I do everything that I suggest. And I want people to know that they're not resigned to being on 10 prescriptions. They can start off that way, but start making some changes in your lifestyle to then tackle the problems that are there, whether it's having to lose weight, which causes a lot of the problem, or other things, and start to then take every prescription and go off or reduce the amount, go off of them, and substitute nutritional strategies and vitamins and supplements to take the place of that. So then you're not going to, all prescriptions are foreign invaders in your body. Your body treats them as a foreign invader, and you can get an autoimmune reaction from a prescription drug, just the same as you can get it from a large piece of gluten from bread that breaks through, not digested enough, that breaks through in the gut in such a large piece that your body treats it as a foreign invader. Then it starts an autoimmune reaction. Then that can lead to 100 different medical conditions, such as rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's disease, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, psoriasis, eczema. All of these things fall under the autoimmune disease category. So, another point that I like to make to people is if anybody has an autoimmune disease, you can start treating yourself and potentially make big progress just by eliminating gluten from your diet. So, you have to look at labels. You just need to go gluten free for 6 weeks religiously. And then after that, you notice your symptoms. Like, let's say you're dealing with psoriasis and you go 6 weeks without gluten. If all of a sudden you don't have an outbreak in 6 weeks, then you know you're onto something potentially. Then you can even introduce gluten back into your diet once per week. And if you only have one cheat meal per week, you won't get that gluten reaction, autoimmune reaction going again. You can actually reboot your body like a laptop by just doing a 6 week elimination. So that's an important thing to know also. So you don't necessarily have to treat a lot of these conditions with prescriptions.
Right.
So that's an important thing to know. So that's just some information that I like to get out. So to let people think outside the box a little when it comes to their health.
Right, right. Very, very interesting thoughts. I think more people should think this way and stay explore this area of holistic health and especially diet. So,
There's so many problems that happen with side effects of prescriptions, drug to drug interactions with prescriptions, and it actually, prescription drugs are in the top 10 reasons for people dying. Well, obviously, they're also helping a lot of people, also. They're helping people, but at the same time, if it were me, I'm going to do everything in my power to address what the problem is nutritionally, with exercise, and with vitamins and supplements. So here's another key point. Typically, I'm going to speak to the US because that's where I live. I'm in South Florida.
yeah,
And the medical system here is Western medicine based, not Eastern medicine based. Eastern medicine has been around 5,000, 6,000 years. Western medicine has only come into its own since World War II with the rise of prescription drugs. At the fall of Germany led to the rise of pharmaceuticals. And so Germany has actually invaded America, which they wanted to do in World War II, but they have done it with the pharmaceuticals, and they've
right,
invaded it that way.
right,
So you really want to realize that you want to try to get off those prescriptions if you can. So a typical doctor, even on their workup for the patient, they're going to do blood tests. So
mhm,
blood tests are showing not what is going on inside the cell, it's going on in the passageway in your body. So you actually want to get saliva testing done. You want to get stool testing done. Let's say that there's a parasite. You're not going to get that from the blood. You got to do a stool test. So there are other tests that need to be done. So the category of doctor that I encourage people to go to if they're having a big problem. It's called a functional medicine doctor, where they're going to actually try to get to the root of the problem. Whereas most doctors are just going from a blood test, which is maybe getting the surface of the problem, and they're giving a prescription, which is like a medical band aid. So you're not getting to the point where the patient can get off that prescription. Instead, they're adding on prescriptions over time. They're not reducing it. So you actually want to find out, is this an autoimmune disease? And what is causing it? Is it gluten? And it could be heavy metals. Everyone's got heavy metals in their body. Everybody needs to do a detox. You can do it on your own gently, but if it's a serious problem, then it has to be done through a doctor. And you might need to get a chelation treatment, which is IV or by mouth, which chelates heavy metals out of your body. And then the interesting thing about that is that if you're doing a detox, it can actually make you feel worse, because if those heavy metals are embedded in the fat in your body, if you're detoxing it, it's going to get into your bloodstream and it's going to make you feel really bad. But that means that you're actually detoxing. So some of these detoxes are pretty heavy duty. You can't do it yourself. I personally would just suggest to anybody dealing with a chronic illness to do what I call a light detox. So you don't necessarily need to do that under a doctor's supervision. I personally do organic chlorella, which is an algae-based supplement. Chlorella spirulina wheatgrass juice. These are algae-based. They have chlorophyll in them, and they can chelate heavy metals. So that's what I do personally twice a year. And there's also a product called modified citrus pectin, which is also a chelator and a detoxer. And so that's something that can be done also. So anybody dealing with a really chronic issue, obviously you should go to a functional medicine doctor. But these are some other things that you can do before you get to the doctor, or after you're done with the whole regimen. Things that you can do to get the heavy metals out of your body, because heavy metals cause a lot of healthcare
Right.
problems too.
Yeah, I think this is very insightful, but the biggest argument against this, like from the other point of view, is that all functional doctors are like functional medicine is very subjective. So it's highly dependent on the doctor. What do they believe in? Because there are like too many, it's not standardized well. Plus, some people argue that the results are not 100% reproducible patient to patient. I mean, I'm just giving you the other point of view. So how would you like reply
Well, yeah,
answer to that?
yeah, functional medicine actually it's supposed to individualize to every patient. So you're not I was just making like a general detox statement. That's not my field. I'm just
Yeah,
giving out information, my field is the foot.
right,
But the knowledge that I have incorporates the whole body. Every treatment has to be tailored to the patient, and if they're doing the job the right way, they're going to identify what exactly is the problem. And that is something that can be done in the US, it might be done by a chiropractor, a medical doctor, a doctor of osteopath, a naturopath. All of these people can potentially get to the root of the problem. And then everyone has their own regimen for the treatment of it. When it comes to the natural world, there are a lot of companies, let's say, that don't have good quality control. So the blanket statement that I'll make about vitamins and supplements is that you want to go with a well-trusted company that's been around for a while, that has good quality control. So not everybody goes to a third-party system to test their product. However, if they're a good enough company, they're going to self-test. They're going to have good quality control. So I think that is not something to stop somebody from going to that kind of doctor,
right,
because you're inevitably going to get to the root of the problem better with them than with a typical doctor that's spending maybe 5 minutes with you and is just giving you a prescription, which is a Band-Aid. Unfortunately, the functional medicine doctors in the US, most of them are smart enough not to take insurance, so they can set their fee. Unfortunately, a lot of people can't afford that necessarily. So then they're stuck with going to the person in their network, in their insurance network.
Right.
And then even when it comes to vitamins and supplements, it's more expensive than a $5 copay for a prescription.
Right.
Even when it comes to organic nutrition, which is a very, very important factor in not bringing in pesticides into your body, which
Mhm.
causes disease and cancer. Yeah, organic food is more expensive.
Yeah.
But my rationale is, let me spend a little bit more money now on that than a hospitalization that's going to cost tremendous money, paying doctors tremendous money, and possibly dying before my time.
Yeah.
So I'd rather spend the money now on myself than pay some hospital or a doctor money to treat whatever happened from you ingesting too much pesticide laden food. So I always hear organic, it's not that more nutritious than non organic. Yeah, that's correct, because the soil since World War II has been depleted by large farming practices. We need to get back to local farming with regenerative farming, where they take they rotate the crops, and they allow the soil to replenish itself naturally. There's so many vitamins and minerals now that are out of the food because of the soil. So I like to say we need to get back to the old days when the farming was local, when you weren't getting your broccoli sprouts from South America. You were
Right.
growing it local. You were growing it locally. You want to get things locally, promote the local growth of your food, do regenerative farming practices that will improve the nutrition of the soil, because you're keeping those trace minerals in there rather than depleting it with the same crop over and over again. So, no, organic nutrition is not more nutritious, but it is certainly without pesticides, which is the main reason that you want to do that, because pesticides are not going to do anybody any good at all.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And coming back to the thing you mentioned about gluten-free diet and its relation to autoimmune disease, you said it improves it. Is that related to inflammations or it's something else like in the body,
Yeah.
some other
If
markers?
if 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 gluten happens to be the reason for the autoimmune disease, the reason is because there's a large food molecule that doesn't get digested good to a small enough size. It goes through the intestinal wall, and because it's so large, your body can have an autoimmune reaction to it. So you can hit on that if that is the cause. Obviously, there are many, many different causes. It could be a parasite, as I said. It could be a heavy metal. It could be inflammation. But the gluten causes an autoimmune response, which is an inflammatory response. That inflammatory response can surface as irritable bowel, type 2 diabetes. It could be Crohn's disease. It could be psoriasis. It could be rheumatoid arthritis. The bottom line, Albert, is that inflammation causes 90% of all health problems. The 10% that it doesn't is the coronavirus, a virus, a fungus,
Yeah,
a parasite. That's an organism. But most of the time, it's inflammation, heart disease, strokes, heart attacks, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, even metabolic syndrome. That's all inflammatory. And a lot of that's related to inflammation from your diet and your lifestyle. So that's why when someone comes to me for a foot problem, being a holistic podiatrist, I'm not going to give a cortisone injection like I used to. I'm not even going to suggest prescription or over the counter natural, non steroidal anti inflammatories. I'm going to go with natural anti inflammatories and cognizant of the fact that if they're on a blood thinner, I'm not going to even use those. I'm going to go with a very strong probiotic. But when I tackle my problem, I like to do it safely with natural anti inflammatories. I go with a high dose for a short period of time to take care of the problem within a week. Then I like to identify the foot type of the patient, try to get them into an orthotic, which is a prescription arch support to put into their shoe so they have the right foundation under their foot, so they're not going to cause further harm to themselves. And then I tell them about interval training so they can start doing that. And I also put everybody on a 50 billion probiotic, which is the healthy bacteria that lines the gut. So most people do not want to take 10 or 12 supplements. But if you want to take just a handful, a 50 billion probiotic is super important because it helps digest your food to small particles. So you're going to lessen your chance of an autoimmune disease just from doing that. It's going to boost your immune system. And it's also going to reduce musculoskeletal pain and inflammation. And people have no idea that probiotics can do that also. As a matter of fact, there's a whole new field now with mental health and probiotics that target mental health. And if somebody is on a prescription drug for anxiety or depression, if it were me, I tell all of my patients, go get a probiotic that targets mental health. Then work with your psychologist, psychiatrist, or whoever's treating you for this and try to work your way off that prescription because those come with a ton of side effects. And that is a safe way to deal with it. So the bottom line, Albert, is you want to keep inflammation down as much as you can. How do you do that? A good start is by going with a good, strong probiotic. Throw in one other one for good measure if you're over the age of 40, such as fish oil, kyolic garlic, curcumin, turmeric, things like that, bromelain, boswellia. There are all sorts of things. If you're over 40, take two, as long as you're not on a blood thinner. It won't thin the blood further. And start eating organically, start eating clean, get preservatives out of your diet, get pesticides and glyphosate out of your diet. Then you're onto something. Start doing your interval training. Just a couple basic things, which is what my Start With Your Feet lifestyle is all about. You start with your foot, know what kind of shoes you want to wear, know what makes a good shoe, know what the proper fit. So let me just throw a quick thing in there before we get off about shoes. You want to have an inch between your longest toe and the end of the shoe, which is the width of a thumb. You want to have wiggle room for your toe. You want the part behind the heel to not be squeezable. So if you can go like that to the part behind the heel, no good. So even without an orthotic, you want to go with a lace or a Velcro shoe rather than a loafer so that you can actually lace up and push your foot back into the back of the shoe. If the part behind the heel is firm, it's going to keep the foot from moving. So it's going to promote stability. It's going to keep it from going forward. So you're going to promote jamming of the front of the foot into the shoe. And then part two of the stability is take the insole out and put a Doc Rick orthotic in. I designed my own orthotic. I have an online store and I do the same orthotic in my office that's just personalized online. It's a template that still has a prescription in it that is going to give you added stability. And then you are giving your foot more stability. Your foot is the proper length. If you have a wide foot, make sure you get a wide width. That's step one. And then step two is the orthotic for the stability. And then moving on to the rest of the lifestyle is the interval training 5 days a week, going to the gym or doing resistance band training at home or any kind of resistance training at home about twice a week. Build up your muscles, prevent your muscles from atrophying, especially as you get older. That's a big factor. And getting into organic nutrition, preferably vegetarian as much as possible, taking a few key vitamins and supplements, such as a good, strong 50 billion probiotic, and stress management. The number one thing for that is going to be a positive attitude will do more for you than anything else. In signs of stress, an easy thing to do is to do some deep breaths where your chest goes up. Hold it for a few seconds. By doing that, you're physiologically calming yourself because your vagus nerve gets hit by the diaphragm when you take a deep breath and your chest goes up. That's automatically going to calm you and chill you. So as you're doing those deep breaths, my own little take on it is say to yourself, hey, get in the now. Try to focus on the now. And if you're focusing on the now all the time, then you are living in the moment, which is what you want to do. And I just read recently by Deepak Chopra that by concentrating on living in the moment all the time, you're actually getting in sync with all the cells in your body. And that promotes anti aging also. So that's an anti aging approach just by being aware of what you're doing in that moment, making the best of it, and embracing it. Because life is lived only in the present, not in the past, not in the future, in the present only. And if you can keep a lot of your, of course, you want to have dreams,
Yeah.
but you want to, when you're living your life, you want to be concentrating whatever moment you're in, you want to maximize the experience. I want to maximize my experience with you right now. I want to be on the same wavelength as you. I don't want to be coming down and pushing you down in an interaction. I want to be right on the same level as you so that we're coming together and we're lifting each other up. That's a good way to live.
Yeah, thank you so much, Richard. That was like a lot of information, a lot of new things in very short time, which is brilliant, of course. I think this is food for thought for everyone and things to start practicing from this moment, actually, in this diet and training. So, thank you so much. And as we're wrapping up, I would like to see if you have any final advice for the audience. Like, just in one phrase, can you summarize the most important thing in your opinion?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna say what my motto is, which is walk strong and live long. So you want to have a long, not just a long life, but you want to have quality of life. You want to have vitality.
Right.
You want to be able to walk around at an age when you're older where you can still be mobile and do things and exercise and go to the grocery store yourself. So for me, that all starts with your feet. So look to your feet first. Start with the right shoes, knowing what makes a good shoe, knowing what the right size is, because most of my patients are in a shoe that's too short, and I have to educate almost all my patients on that. And then the kick the kicker is put an orthotic in your shoe so you have stability under your foot that's going to control motion. And then just start doing some simple things to help yourself. Don't rely on prescriptions. Do things that are natural. And then you're onto something. If anybody wants to give me an email, they can email me at docrick@startwithyourfeet.com. I have my own podcast called Holistic Strides that's on YouTube, it's on Spotify and Apple. Right now, I'm going solo at the beginning, laying down lots of content, putting a lot of content out there. Down the line, I'll be bringing guests in, and I will invite you to be a guest on my show down the line. And the Start with Your Feet lifestyle will is going to be a book in 2024. I'm happy to say, and I'm also going to be starting giving virtual webinars to businesses and groups. If anybody's interested in that, you can just send me an email and I'll give you the information. And so I can give my little talk on what's good for businesses and what businesses need to know to reduce absenteeism, what businesses need to know so that their employees are not missing work for a sickness and or back injuries by starting with your feet. So I have my just like I basically gave an overview of what I talk about to you today, Albert, and that's something that I'm going to be doing in 2024 also. So I have my goal is to educate the world because now that we have the internet, we can. I'm talking to you. You're in the Netherlands. I'm in Hollywood, Florida. The world is much smaller than it used to be, and
Mhm.
you can get information out to people, and they just to make a couple of simple changes in their lifestyle makes a big difference. And just my angle on it is start with your feet because you want to be mobile. The faster that you walk at the age of 50 will lead to a longer life. So if you take two 50-year-olds crossing the street, if one can barely walk, one can walk briskly, the brisk walker is going to have a better prognosis for a longer life. So really take your feet seriously. Don't accept the fact that they may hurt you. Painful feet are not normal. Take care of the problem. Go to a podiatrist or whoever can take care of the foot appropriately in whatever country you're in. And do right by your feet, and you'll do right for your whole body. That's what I'm about, Albert.
Yeah, awesome. Can't wait to get my hands on your book and all these stuff that you mentioned. Thank you so much, Richard. That was an insanely great conversation. Thank
Thanks a
you
lot,
so much.
Albert. And I'll catch you down the line.
Sure. Thank you.